At this point, we are getting into our second panel discussion. Our second panel discussion is going to be hosted by four eminent individuals in the finance industry. We have Rispa Ohaga, who is the Group CFO and Executive Director, East Africa Breweries Limited, among other accolades and responsibilities. We have Leslie Ndlovu, who is the CEO, Africa Risk Capacity ARC, that is South Africa. And Leslie Ndlovu has given us a kind donation as a family of Kenya's 50,000 Kenya shillings. We have Moses Ngujiri, the Finance and Accounting Manager, Nokia Networks Kenya. And finally, we have J.K. Hand, the Finance Director, IMS Insurance and Mobility Solutions UK. Welcome to our second panel discussion to the four eminent. The last panel we talked about personal experiences. We talked about what you look for when making new hires into your organizations. I'd like us to take it a little bit more technical and talk about some emerging trends and contemporary topics within your areas of specialization. Everywhere you go right now, there's talk about AI in finance, AI in medicine, AI in the media, AI in engineering. As leaders in finance, what emerging trends do you foresee impacting investment opportunities in East Africa over the next 5 years, especially concerning sectors like education and technology? I'd like to hear your varied perspectives on this topic, on technology and trends, and any other trends that I may not have mentioned that you think are important for our people, our students to know about, and that which will shape finance industry in the next years to come. I think we can start with Rispa.
Thank you, and I wasn't expecting to go first, but thank you for the question. I think it's such a wide topic that it's really difficult to condense it, but I will just highlight what I think are some of the emerging trends. Definitely post-COVID, we've seen that technology has really sped up. Some of the changes we thought would take the next 10 years really rapidly accelerated, and that has changed the way we do business. When I think about technology and its role, I look at our industry, and particularly in Kenya, I'm in the alcoholic beverage drinks industry. And before COVID, we had 95% of our consumption in bars. So people would leave home, go to the bar and consume alcohol in that manner. When COVID came, we saw a lot of that move to off-premise or different types of consumption. And I think the important thing there is one thing that remains constant around any business is your consumer. So being aware of who your consumer is, what is happening to them, what are they looking for, what are emerging trends in terms of consumption, and then addressing yourself to them, because if you miss the boat, then you miss the opportunity. So I think that's one, and technology plays a big role in that. We increased our so on-premise consumption reduced to almost 80%, between 75 and 80% from 95%. We increased our digital advertising. We're advertising mostly through traditional channels, and we started to do a lot more of digital and really getting a lot of value for money through that, but also quite a lot of reach, and again making sure that you put in the right controls. You don't want to have children accessing your adverts, so making sure that you're age gating appropriately as much as possible. So I think using technology as much as possible to be creative in the way we do business. And lastly, just the advent of AI and how we've used that again in our business. Again, AI has evolved so rapidly, and we use it both in the back office in finance for things like forecasting, very, very easy to use AI to now improve the quality of our forecasting. So that's one example. And there are lots more of where we're using them in modeling and things like that. And even in day-to-day simple tasks. I want a role profile or an RFQ, I quickly generate it. And some of the things that used to take us long to think about, you're now able to reduce how much time you're doing mundane things and focus on the real strategic issues. Finally, I think that some of these issues have made us different. And so taking care of ourselves, your mental health, we've seen a real rise in mental health in the workplace, in the homes. And so just being cognizant that people are going through different things. And so for your workforce to be fully effective, you need to manage the whole human. And that is part of even us in finance, thinking about how do we, human resources and asset, how do we make sure we take care of our people in terms of some of these emerging health trends. Now, there are bigger things like also global trends. We've seen when COVID came, that was a global pandemic no one thought would arise. Quickly following on that was the Russia-Ukraine matters, and just again you realize the connectivity across the globe, and you wouldn't have thought a few years ago that a Russia-Ukraine war would have the kind of impact it has on us. And it's had people start to think around how do we encourage local sourcing and make sure that we produce a lot of things that we need over here and be able to utilize them. So I think there's a lot emerging in people. There was a whole globalization, and then there's a need to, how about we also develop our markets so that we reduce the risks around so many of those dependencies that are external to us. I'm going to pause there and maybe leave for the other panelists to add.
Rispa, that was very, very deep. In fact, I was saying, it's like we had a whole class. There are many things to think of. There's consumer, there's the age bracket, there's who, there's what, there's AI, but there's also ourselves. It's interesting how you brought it all together. You know, AI, we've been calling it a buzzword, but you've just made it so possible for us to see that AI is in us, with us, around us, and we just have to live with it. Feeling that has been quite comprehensively covered. I wouldn't want to stay on AI, but I want to call on Leslie. Leslie, you have jumped very many goalposts, I would say, to be who you are today. There are possibly a couple of daily routines you have in place that make you who you are, that, you know, have brought you the success that you are already a CEO. You've done work in London, in France, in various parts of the world. Just share with us some of your daily routines that help you maintain the success that is Leslie.
Thank you very much. I always like to think about it from three perspectives. Firstly, there is your family. I think in the previous panel, we talked about how important family is to your success. So then whenever you are planning and thinking about what you want to do, you also have to think about how it impacts your family. And whatever you're working on ultimately needs to be a family project for it to succeed. Then you think about the second aspect, which is just around the personal. Rispa has already mentioned, I think, the importance of mental well-being, but also physical health. In my case, I'm an avid sportsman. So I enjoy running, and I look forward to the upcoming Nairobi Marathon. But all this is just an opportunity to relax, to be centered, and to maintain good physical health. Then, of course, there's always the third and probably the most obvious aspect, which is around the professional aspect. When I look at my career, I never really thought about the next step per se, but I always thought about things in terms of gathering a portfolio of skills. And once that happens, then the next thing reveals itself, so that when you look back, it may seem like it was a series of well thought out and well executed steps, but it just happened by being open-minded to try the next thing and focus on developing the skills. Tuendele has a finance bent to it, and people tend to think that finance is solely about figures and facts, but the huge part of what we are doing in the finance community is explaining what our strategy is, explaining what is happening in the business, and using numbers to illustrate this story. So I would like to encourage our students to also have this aspect in mind, that good communication and interpersonal skills are an integral part of being an effective finance professional. And in my case, it's something that I think about and I'm deliberate about, so that you are, in the end, a well-rounded professional. So to summarize, again, think about your family. They can be a great source of support. Think about how you take care of your own person, mentally, physically, and also in terms of your professional growth. Always focus on gaining new skills, opening yourself up to new experiences. And if you do that, then the next step opens itself up. Thank you.